Now imagine that's the entire corpus of linguistic production, all things considered. Now, how do you understand that? Like, literally, how do you understand that? The answer is you sample it by reading and listening to stories and listening to people talk. You sample that whole domain. You build a low-resolution representation of that inside you, and then you listen and see through that. And so it isn't that the Bible is true. It's that the Bible is the precondition for the manifestation of truth, which makes it way more true than just true. It's a whole different kind of true. And I think this is not only literally the case, factually, I think it can't be any other way. It's the only way we can solve the problem of perception.
What it do, man? It's your boy 100 and we back in this. Hey, we back in this, man. And right now we got Joe Rogan talking with Jordan Peterson. This is just a little snippet, but it's basically Jordan Peterson's realization about the Bible. Now, I don't know what he about to talk about. I don't know what's about to happen in this video. I didn't see a preview of it or nothing. But I be liking what Jordan Peterson be having to say. Like I be tapped in when he be talking about stuff, you know. So I be liking the information. Like, even if you're not feeling Joe Rogan right now, even if you don't even like Jordan Peterson, like I like information. So I invest myself in, I try to focus more on messages and not the messengers. You know what I'm saying? I listen to messages and not messengers. So like whoever is delivering the message, like that don't matter. Like I don't care if you're a whole hypocrite. I don't care if you preaching something and you don't believe it. If I can take something from what you're saying and it makes sense to me and I can implement it in my life or in my thoughts, or if the information is, if I feel like the information is valuable, like I just like information. I don't care who's delivering it. You feel what I'm saying? Like if you love Steak and Shake, do you care if DoorDash drops it off? Do you care if Uber Eats drops it off? You just want that Steak and Shake, huh? What am I talking about? Let's tap in, bro.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
If categories dissolve, especially fundamental ones,
Soup boys,
the culture is dissolving. Because the culture is a structure of category. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Right.
So, and in fact, culture is a structure of category that we all share. So we see things the same way. Well, that's why we can talk. I mean, not exactly the same way, because then we'd have nothing to talk about. But roughly speaking, we have a bedrock of agreement. That's the Bible, by the way. Hmm? So I just walked through the Museum of the Bible in Washington. That was very cool. It's a very cool museum.
So the structure, that's what the Bible
it's what
provides.
I figured out. I just figured this out this week. So it was a cool thing to walk through because it's chronological. They have one floor which is the history of the Bible. Mm-hmm. But it's not exactly that. It's really what it is the history of the book. Now, in many ways, the first book was the Bible. I mean, literally. Because at one point there was only one book, like as far as our Western culture is concerned, there was one book. And for a while, literally there was only one book. And that book was the Bible. And then before it was the Bible, it was it was scrolls and it was writings on papyrus. But we were starting to aggregate written text together. And it went through all sorts of technological transformations. And then it became books that everybody could buy, the book everybody could buy. And the first one of those was the Bible. And then it became all sorts of books that everybody could buy. But all those books, in some sense, emerged out of that underlying book. And that book itself, the Bible isn't a book, it's a library. It's a collection of books. And so...
Pause before we break it down. I saw somebody recently say that they used to read a bunch of like different meditation books and self-help books and how to, do better in life or center yourself. And then they said after they read all those books, time passed and then they started reading the Bible. And then when they were reading the Bible, they started to say like, dang, like all these self-help books and all these stories and stuff, all of this stuff came from the Bible. This is what this person said. I used to read the Bible when I was like a teenager, but I only read Proverbs. That's it. I read Proverbs and that's it, because it was just full of quotes. And I felt like those quotes were like, you can use them in your actual life. Like I was like trying to read like the stories and all that. I was like, man, I'm not reading these stories, bro. Like, give me something like, you know what I'm saying? So a quote telling you probably should do this and don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can use that in my daily life. I can't use like Genesis.
What I figured out was partly because I was talking to my brother-in-law, Jim Keller, who's the world's greatest chip designer and has now designed a chip that's as powerful as the human brain, which is optimized for artificial intelligence learning, by the way. And so I talked to him about that. He said, "You heard of the internet?" I said, "Yeah, Jim, I've heard of the internet." He said, "This is way more revolutionary than that." So in any case, we were talking about meaning in text because we were talking about translation and the problem of understanding text. And Jim said, the meaning of words is coded in the relationship of the words to one another. And the postmodernists make that case that all meaning is derived from the relationship between words. That's wrong because, well, what about rage? That's not words. And what about moving your hand? That's not words. So it's wrong, but part of it's right because the meaning we derive from the verbal domain is encoded in the relationship between words. So now then you think, well, let's think about the relationship between words. Well, some words are dependent on other words. Some ideas are dependent on other ideas. The more ideas are dependent on a given idea, the more fundamental that idea is. That's a definition of fundamental. So now imagine you have an aggregation of texts in a civilization. You say, which are the fundamental texts? And the answer is the texts upon which most other texts depend. And so you'd put Shakespeare way in there in English because so many texts are dependent on Shakespeare's literary revelation.
That's funny to me when I think about Shakespeare, because they say Shakespeare made up so many words for the English language. It's like to be a writer and you just start making up words and then we figure out what the words mean because of, you know, context clues. And it's like, how you just making up words? Like you writing and just making words up. And we like, okay, yeah, we're going to use that. We mess with that. Google right now all the words that Shakespeare created. Right now. I'm going to give you 10 right now off the top. Off the top. Accommodation, aerial, amazement, apostrophe, assassination, auspicious, baseless, bloody, bump, castigate, changeful, clangor, control, countless, courtship, critic, critical, dexterity. Like, this man made up them words, bro. That's crazy to me, dog. I'm finna just start making up words. Like, why can't I? Disheartened, dislocate, dwindle, eventful, exposure, fitful, frugal, generous. Like, what? How did you, what? How? You know what? After this video, I might do a video on how Shakespeare made all these words. I might do that.
And Milton would be in that category, and Dante would be in that category, at least in translation. Fundamental authors, part of the Western canon, not because of the arbitrary dictates of power, but because those texts influenced more other texts. And then you think about that as a hierarchy, okay, with the Bible at its base, which is certainly the case. Now imagine that's the entire corpus of linguistic production, all things considered. Now, how do you understand that? Like, literally, how do you understand that? The answer is you sample it by reading and listening to stories and listening to people talk. You sample that whole domain. You build a low-resolution representation of that inside you, and then you listen and see through that. And so it isn't that the Bible is true. It's that the Bible is the precondition for the manifestation of truth, which makes it way more true than just true. It's a whole different kind of true. And I think this is not only literally the case, factually, I think it can't be any other way. It's the only way we can solve the problem of perception.
My boy got so deep off in it, boy, I might have to rewatch that thing, boy. My boy basically saying like the blueprint is like the Bible is like the blueprint of like not just linguistics, but like just like language and it's like the reference point for everything. And I kind of avoid the Bible just because I don't like religion. Religion seems like cults. It's very cult-like. A lot of rituals. Why am I eating this flesh and drinking his blood? Why would I do that? What does that have to do with being a good person? Why are we sitting in this temple drinking this cranberry juice and these fake crackers, bro? Why are you putting oil on my forehead and I'm saved. Like what are these rituals? This doesn't seem like what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't like religion. I don't mess with religion at all. The Bible might have some gems in there. It might have some real talk in there. But I don't think I feel like you shouldn't read the Bible literally. Like if the Bible says don't do this, I don't think it's literally talking about that. I think it's like a suggestion, like you probably should not. I feel like the Bible is like at least some parts, it's just like a guide. Like I ain't saying you gotta do this, but I'm saying you probably will live a better life if you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like thou shalt not. I feel like that's like a, hey bro, I wouldn't do that if I was you. If I was you, I wouldn't do that. But folks be really feeling like they are like damned if they make a mistake. Like I don't think that's the mission. I don't think that's the message trying to be conveyed. You feel me? But yeah, that's just my little opinion on it. You know what I'm saying? He got so deep in his message that it was like multi-layered that you kind of even forgot what he was talking about, because he would go back and reference something, bring it back to the forefront. But I mess with Jordan Peterson though. I mess with anybody that gives out information. I mess with anybody that's talking about understanding life and understanding people, understanding relationships, just anything that got to do with understanding. Because I literally want to understand everything. If I could know everything, I would. Probably wouldn't be happy. Because more knowledge and more understanding does not equal happiness. You know, they say ignorance is bliss, because it's like you don't know, you don't know. You just don't know. So you're not worried about things. If you know everything, you might be, too worried. But anyway, man, comment below, man. Let me know how you feel about this video, man. Did you get anything from what he was saying? Do you understand what he was saying? Do you understand what he was talking about? Like the Bible being like the first book and the Bible being like fundamental, like the most fundamental, and it being like the most true as far as like its relationship to the rest of literature and language. Let me know how you feel about it below, man. You know what I'm saying? I try to respond to every comment, you know what I'm saying? So drop a little comment for your boy, drop a little like for your boy. You know what I'm saying? Go on and sub to your boy. Clothes still for sale in the description. You know what I'm saying? My social media's in the description. Go on and follow your boy one time. Appreciate all the love, man. And I'll see y'all in the next one.